Hello once again YouTube, Chris the Nightbringer here bringing you some World Painter action. I'm not obviously in World Painter, we're actually going to be checking out some trees because this should be the last episode we spend in World Painter, and the last few steps involve making trees and putting them on the map, or getting trees on the map, and putting on the biomes. So if you know anything about Pyke, or frankly anything from Game of Thrones, most of it's filmed in like Ireland and places like those near Old English areas. So I'm using European trees because that just makes sense, I guess. And luckily I actually found out some of the trees that actually grew in these locations just real quick, doing like a quick search online. So I'm gonna be picking out the trees. I don't know exactly how well they're gonna look when we put them on the map, simply because this place isn't supposed to look very lush in terms of trees and stuff. Don't know how well a tree would grow on these places, and frankly, you don't even see trees on the show, and they don't really mention anything about it in the books, obviously, because who the fuck cares about trees? But for the map, we probably will want them because it's going to be fucking boring if we don't have trees or anything else besides the general landscape. So I'm just going to go around real quick and pick out some of the trees that I got written down here. We need sisal oak, which I believe is over here. Where is it? I think this is it. No, that's not it. Where did it go? Actually, this might be it. Yes, sisal oak. Alright, so we can see that this oak tree is pretty damn big. A lot bigger than what World Painter creates with the deciduous tree brush, as well as what Minecraft creates with its regular generated trees. This is a deal a lot larger. I don't think I want to go that big. I think I'll just go with the smaller version. We're going to write this down. We're going to get the number for it, the little code here, which is EUR13 small. What else we got? We got alder, which I believe is up here. Is this alder? Yes, this is alder. This tree, I actually might not mind putting on here, even though it's just as big as the one we just did. It's a little bit more thin, not so thick with the branches. We'll come back to this, actually, but we'll definitely get the smaller version. EUR1S. We have aspen, which might be right here. No, this is ash. Gotta find aspen. Don't know if it'll actually be on here. I know that we want silver birch, and we're gonna want probably both of these, because these are pretty good looking trees. So, EUR3S and EUR3 large. I'm just writing that down. What's this? That's a beech. We don't want beech. If we can find aspen real quick, we'll add that to the list. Although I don't know if I can find it. I don't know if it's actually part of this pack. I think I'll add the hawthorn, because it's a little. This tree is supposed to be pretty prickly looking. It's not supposed to be very lush. It's more about. It's got more twigs in it than leaves, actually, from what I saw real quick while I was looking up these. But we want some trees that look a little bit smaller, kind of like this, a little bit odd looking, a little bit more bushy and not so much tree with leaves. So we're going to write this one down. EUR7 large. Don't want the small one. It's a little bit too small. It'll probably look out of place among all these larger trees that we have included in this. That's leaved elm, smooth leaved elm. We don't want that. What's this? Hornbeam. I think that's it, actually. I think we'll just stick with those trees. We don't really need a large variety. Like I said, there's not supposedly a lot of, vegetation on this place. It's supposed to be a really crappy, rocky island. So I guess that's what we'll stick with for now, and we'll get into World Painter and paint these onto the map. Alright, so we're back here on the map. We're ready to use the trees that we just picked out from the custom tree repository. In case you're wondering, the trees that I'm using are from Let's Lentes, or Let's Lebriges? I think that's how you say it. I don't know. We're going to use his trees that he has: North American, European, Amazonian, African, Savanna, as well as fantasy trees available in separate packs, 2 separate packs, I believe, on his Planet Minecraft page. I'll provide a link in the description so you can get those if you don't have them, as well as a link to his YouTube channel. There you go. Let's Lente. I don't actually talk to him, but I know he'll probably appreciate that. So we're going to be using those in this the creation of the forests on here. Most of the forests are going to be on this northern section of the island, but we're going to place some trees around the rest of the place as well. Not a lot of trees, like I said. This place isn't supposed to be amazing and flourishing with life. It's pretty crappy, and I keep reinforcing that idea with all the different things we're doing with the terrain. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to come down to the add custom object layer. We're going to click add, and I have all of them on here in separate folders for all of their different things. South American trees. Oh, I didn't know he did South American trees, or maybe that's the Amazonian trees. So yeah, we are using mostly European trees. So we're going to come in here and I'm going to click on the ones that we have. We have 2 birch trees and we have 3 oak looking trees. So that's a decent combination for the types of forest we want on here, 2 to 3 birch to oak ratio. So we're going to get the European 13 small, which is one of them we wrote down, which is right here, Sicil oak small. The 1 small, actually, the elder. And if you want to add multiple trees at once, just control click each time you add or click on a new tree. You'll be able to add all of them in at once without having to open this up a billion times. We want the 3 small and the 3 large. That's the birch tree. Where is it? 3 small, 3 large, silver birch. And we want the 7 large, which is down here, common hawthorn. We're going to click OK. And all of those are added. Now, here's a pretty important thing. The leaves on this can possibly decay depending on what settings you have. We're going to rename this to forests. We're going to change the color to, I'd say, actually yellow is probably really good. So we're going to leave it on yellow. But the thing is these trees can either decay their leaves or not, and they can, do all sorts of other stuff. We're gonna do edit real quick, which is right here. Spawn on. We don't want any of this clicked. We want to get. I'm sorry, my video may have just done something funky, and that's because my background changed, because I have a rotating background on my computer, which is probably something I should change to make sure that doesn't happen again. Regardless, now that we're back, in case you didn't catch that, we want to turn everything off except on solid land. Random rotation and mirroring, yes. Frequency, 100%, of course. Collide with solid blocks, replace underground blocks. You want to click always, that's so that you can get the roots. Leaf blocks should not decay. You can also set that here, set to all decay, set to not decay. And of course, it'll, oh, what the fuck? I guess that reset everything, that's weird. Collide with solid blocks. Always, not decay. Strange that it did that. I figured it would not have just reset the entire thing. I'll really just stick with the noise brush when I'm trying to create thicker forests. I've seen people use the cracks brush, which is pretty good actually. I think that's not too bad. It's a really nice way of getting some thin and sparse looking trees, but at the same time those trees are like bunched up together and kind of dense. But there's like large gaps between groups of them. So that's pretty cool, and we're probably going to be using that. You can, if you want, use some of the brushes down here. I'm also going to be reducing the number of brushes in the pack, simply because we now have the rotation tool, and you don't need all those brushes now. I'll be getting rid of some of the brushes in the pack now. But you can, if you want, use these noise brushes. I'm not sure if they're really useful for this type of thing. This one might be. I don't know. Zoom in. Nah, that's probably not too good. But something like this, I think those are pretty good, especially if you just want like a line of trees. That's a pretty good one to use. But other than that, most of the brush, or the cracks brush. Now with these specific settings, if we turn down the intensity to 0%, you're going to get very sparse trees. That's kind of what we want all over this island. So I'm going to grab the cracks brush, and I'm going to turn down the intensity to 1%, and I'm only going to do this on grass, because grass is the nicest sloped terrain that we have on this. We don't want trees growing on rocks and all that. And we're just going to place some around the entire map in decent amounts of groups. We don't need, these are so sparse that we could probably cover this entire map and it would seem like the entire place has barely any trees. So we're just going to go around and place trees relatively all over the place. Don't have to place them everywhere. Could probably place a little bit more inside this valley, so I'm going to turn this up to about 10%. Did that change the color? There's like levels of intensity. Right here you can see that at the very bottom of the screen down here in this box, it says forest level 2. So that's like the next level of density. And right now when we mouse over the lighter color of yellow, it's forest level 1. So as you increase the intensity, you get all these like contours, and it'll tell you just how dense it is. And if we scroll through this, you can see that numbers changing from 8 to 7 to 6 to 5 to 4, 3, 2, and finally back to 1. So I'm going to turn that back down, and I'm going to leave it at around 20-ish, 22%. We're going to just, bam, just like that. That's all we need. A little bit denser there, not too dense. If you want to know how dense this stuff gets, how quickly it gets dense, at 50% you'll get a tree about every 10 meters, at least every 10 meters. There will probably be trees closer than that. Trees probably within 5 meters of each other. If you want an incredibly dense forest that is totally unrealistic or totally impassable, you're going to want to use 100% with this setting. That will make an incredibly dense forest. It will, like, you won't be able to walk 2 feet without hitting another tree. That's just way too much. You don't need that. 50% is about as dense as you'll probably need it. And you can still see that on the map. If you click there, you can still see that that's pretty dense. I like to leave it at the most, maybe 40% for like the dense forests I create. I'm going to be leaving it at around 15% tops to get these level 2 density areas. We're going to come up here, and we're going to throw down some of these, 15% or so, because this is supposed to be more heavily, quite a bit around here. Get those forests going. This is supposed to be a forested area, so hopefully this is giving the effect that we want. And I might come in here with the noise brush and put in some thicker patches. Try not to put them on hills so much. Trees don't really grow on the sides of hills as well as they would on like just a flat area. You'll see like the places where water collects will probably have more trees in them than anything. That's not to say that trees only grow in valleys and recesses of landscape, but it's probably more likely that you'll find them there. So that's pretty much it. That's all we need to do for the trees. We're done. We have placed all the trees we ever need to for this map. That's only because there's not a lot of trees to place on this map to begin with. There's not a lot of variety. We're not looking for a lot of variety. But there you go. Those are the trees. We can see what those look like in the end product. We might adjust how dense it is in some places. We'll definitely be checking out this northern peninsula of the island to see how dense it is up there. And we'll be checking out how dense it is in some of these other areas if we need to up the density or lower it. But that's pretty much it. We don't want trees covering this entire map. And it might seem a little barren in some places, but in some other places it'll have some decent looking trees. The last thing we're going to do is add the biomes, and this is pretty damn simple stuff. We're going to go into global operations, fill with biome, plains. Actually, biome is over here. That's ocean. Okay, so the entire map is ocean biome right now. If we turn this on, it might lag. I apologize. You can see that the entire map is ocean right now. If we take the plains brush and we put it on a circle and we turn up the intensity, you could see where the plains biome is now being painted onto the landscape. So we're going to turn that off. We're going to turn that off. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to global operations, fill with biome, plains, only on land. And what this will do is very easily, it'll define all the coastlines and all the water as ocean biomes. Our map is covered in plains. All the land is plains biome. However, we don't want just plains biome. I'm here to show you some advanced techniques that I use, and one of the advanced techniques that I use is, well, specific biome painting techniques. There's really not a name for it. Maybe biome dynamics, I guess, is the best thing I could come up with at the top of my head. We want to make this place look interesting. We want the landscape to look different as you travel across it. You want the grass to be a little bit more brown over here and a little bit more green over here. So there's a way to achieve that. What we're going to be doing is using different biomes at different intensities all over the entire map to achieve that. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the desert brush. Now this is where you need to make some decisions. Anything related to taiga, taiga hills, and ice mountains is going to have snow, so you don't want to use those unless you want snow to appear on the ground. That being said, it pretty much defeats the purpose unless you're looking at trees and foliage, because you can't actually see the ground cover if there's snow on top of it. Duh, that makes sense. So we're not even going to bother with these pretty much ever in this tutorial series. They're just not going to be a useful thing for us to get involved with, but we are going to use the other ones. So if we want desert right now, we're going to put up the noise and we're going to turn down its intensity to 1%. And just very quickly, we're going to zoom in here. If I click once and we zoom in, you can see right there, that tan dot, that's one square that is turned into a desert biome. We're going to do that across the entire map. Just real quick, just hold down the mouse, go across the entire map, and we turned it on to, oh, actually, I'm going to undo all of that. I'm going to undo that twice. We only want this happening on land. Like I said, we don't want this happening in the ocean. And we're going to go over the entire map with desert. You can stick around in some areas for a second or two longer. But that's it. And if we zoom back in here, we should find some specks of desert. And basically what this has done is it has made these browner patches of grass, these yellower patches of grass that imply that this grass is not as alive as the next patch of grass. And that's very good. We want that. We want this terrain to look varied and stuff. Another one we're going to be using is extreme hills. The reason we're using extreme hills is because, of course, this entire place is hills, so it's not going to be totally out of place to have this biome covering this place. We're going to turn up the intensity just a little bit, probably no higher than 8%, and if we come down here and click once, you can see just how many spots on the landscape it created with that. We're going to zoom in, you can see that right there. That dark patch is another biome, the extreme hills biome, compared to what's around it, which is the plains biome. If it makes it any easier, you can turn off the custom layer for the trees so you can see exactly where all these colors and all these layers are going. And we're going to go around the entire map with this as well. And this will give some patches of darker grass, at least with this texture pack. It may not happen so much with the default texture pack. We're going to go take a look at both of these in-game, both texture packs in use with this technique, just so you can see if there's a difference or not, and whether you want to use this for your own maps. But yeah, just go across the entire map with this. Don't have to really worry about it. It's not going to affect the rain or the weather. The only thing it's going to affect really is the color of the sky if you're using this texture pack, the color of the ground, and the color of foliage. And that's kind of what we want. It'll give it a varied appearance. It's a little subtle detail that surprisingly does add a lot of difference to the map. It'll make it look a little bit more interesting to look at. It won't be so green or so plain of one color. And that's it. We don't have to really add anything else. We can use the forest in the more forested areas, and again, we'll turn this up just a little bit, probably not past 15 or 16%. Let's turn it up to like maybe 18%. And we zoom in here real quick here. You won't be able to see this because the forest is actually like this weird tree thing. So as you add forest biome, it'll make trees appear. You can sort of see it. It's a little bit greener. So we're going to zoom out. We're going to turn on the forests. You can use a global operation for this and just place it where the forests are. I'm not going to do that because I don't want it to be so exact. If we do that, it'll place it all in the forest areas and exactly on the forest areas. We don't want that. So I'm just going to quickly go over all this land with forest biome, and you can see it's very varied here. It's going to be all over the place with color, which is very good because this is a forested area, or more forested than any other area, and it's going to look a little bit more dense. It's going to look a little bit more rough, and there's going to be leaves on the ground, or it's going to give the impression that there are leaves on the ground. So that's it. That's the end of the map creation. We are done. I'm going to post a link for this at the bottom of the description so that you can download this. This is going to be the fresh version of the map. Nothing is going to be built on it. In the future, when I'm done with the builds, I will post a link for that as well with the builds on it and finished. But this is it. You can have this map for free. I'll be posting this on Planet Minecraft and taking some really cool renders of it. We're going to go in-game now and take a look at the terrain real quick just before this video is over, and we're going to look at the product of what we have just created, the end product of this magnificent journey you have all taken with me, because I know you all consider this one of the most magical things that have happened in your life, of course. So yeah, I'll see you in a few seconds. I totally forgot to mention, lol JK, I'm not gone yet. We're not done with World Painter. I totally forgot to mention how I'm going to be exporting this. We're going to go and export as a new Minecraft map. It's going to be Pyke map. That's what I'm calling it. You can call it whatever you want if you're doing stuff at home. And I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen with this. We're going to go into general. We want to keep this stuff the save. We want to keep no border. We don't need it. And we're going to export everything. You can, if you want, export structures. That'll generate villages and stuff. I'm going to be doing this in creative, and I'm going to allow cheats, caverns, and chasms. Caverns, turn that down. They're going to be smaller. You can have chasms as well. Turn that down. Caverns break the surface and chasms break the surface. I am not going to turn those on at all. No. In fact, I'm going to turn caverns up a little bit because those will just create like single rooms. We don't want that. I don't want chasms or caverns breaking the surface. That's just bad. That'll make our work look ugly. Resources. Leave everything the same except dirt, gravel, and water and lava. You can do whatever you want with lava because that only appears from 0 to 15 blocks, but water, you want to turn like to 0 because water is bad. Turn it to 0%. It's just terrible. Turn everything down for water. You'll find like random ass waterfalls just flowing off the side of your mountains. Gravel and dirt, turn this to 0 as well. 0, like 2% maybe, just so you have those underground if you want. But I'm telling you, dirt and gravel are like terrible. They fuck up your landscapes because they appear on the sides of your mountains and your cliffs, and all those, really impressive looking cliff faces are now ruined because you have a patch of brown in it, and it's just ugly. You don't want that everywhere. You can turn resources on everywhere, but I'm going to turn it down just so we don't have a lot of it sticking up to the surface. Actually, maybe I'll just leave it a little bit less than normal. We don't need that many resources on this place. Let's see. Other layers. Leave this off. Leave all of this off. Smooth snow, yeah, sure. Even though we don't have smooth snow on here. And export it. And I'll see you guys in a few seconds in Minecraft. Alright, so if we take a look around, we can see the effects of some of the things that we've done recently. If you look at the ground, just look at the ground, you can see the different colors, the variations in color in the grass. We got some yellowish looking splotches right here, and there's some, there's some darker green ones like right here, and then right next to it is a regular green color. So if we look at this, you can see the variation in the color in the ground. It looks pretty good right here, especially. You can see that variation right there. I might turn it up just a little bit when I create the map for the final render to export. There's a few things that I would like to tweak. One of them probably being the amount of trees that we have and some of the adjustments to trees that I'm going to have to do. One of the things I noticed is that some of these trees are spawning kind of like this, and we don't want that. The reason that's happening is because this tree is like next to a block that's higher than it, the ground that's higher than what it's actually supposed to be on, so the tree is like pretending it's like on this one when it really should be on this one. And hopefully you won't see that when I give you guys the final map export. Here's about the thinnest density of trees. I might change the way that these are because they're a little bit too like all over the place, and I like them to be grouped together a little bit more. But this is about as thin as it gets for density. It could get probably a little bit thinner. It probably will get thinner when I turn all of the when we use the noise brush. I'm going to be turning some of those places into the cracked brush in order to achieve the effect of less dense areas. But if we head in this direction, you'll see they get a little bit more dense, hopefully. Or I could just not land anywhere near a tree. That's helpful. But you can see the types of trees we have here. They're a little bit sparse looking. They're not too heavy with the leaves. They're like, especially this one. This one looks a little bit all over the place with the leaves, a little bit sparse. Same with these birch trees. I'm like flying into them, so I apologize. Here's an example of one of the trees that spawned in the air. I don't know why this is happening, but the easiest way to solve that is when you go and edit the trees themselves, you can determine in that little menu where the like the center and like focal point of the tree is and where it should be placed when you place it onto the map. So you can edit it that way, and I'll show you a screen of what that looks like, or a picture of what that looks like, just so you guys don't get totally confused. Here's about how the densest it's going to be for trees. This is probably using the cracked tree brush. I can see one of the lines of the cracks this way right now. So yeah, this is probably using the cracked tree brush, and this goes all the way up to Iron Holt, wherever that is. We're going to find it, and you can see the really cool effect with all these different colored terrain, these different colored biomes over here. Real quick, I'm going to switch into default. And we're going to take a look. Even in default, you can see the effect. You can see how the terrain is varied slightly. You can see that some of the trees might have that variation a little bit, just a little bit. You might be able to see it here. Like this leaf right here, the one right in the center of the screen, is slightly yellower than the one right above it. So, you know, that's basically what we accomplished with those techniques, you know, the variation in terrain like that. And that's it. That's pretty much the map. I'll leave a link in the download or a link in the description for a download, and you guys can get the map whenever you feel like it. Build on it, whatever you want. I don't really care. Give me credit if you're gonna post it somewhere or show it off to your friends. But yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. We're going to be doing Arathi Basin next from World of Warcraft. I don't exactly know how I'm going to go about doing that. I might speed up the creation of that a lot more than I did with this one. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment, rate, favorite, subscribe. Tell me what you think of the description or in the comments below. God damn, I can't fucking talk. I'm sorry. And I'll see you guys next time. Click the link at the end of the video to watch the next part of this series. But for the map, we probably will want them because it's going to be fucking boring if we don't have trees or anything else besides the general landscape. So I'm just going to go around real quick and pick out some of the trees that I got written down here. We need Sisal Oak, which I believe is over here. Where is it? I think this is it. No, that's not it. Where did it go? Actually, this might be it. Yes, Sisal Oak. Alright, so we can see that this oak tree is pretty damn big. A lot bigger than... so I'm using European trees because that just makes sense, I guess. And luckily, I actually found out some of the trees that actually grew in these locations, just real quick, doing like a quick search online. So I'm going to be picking out the trees. I don't know exactly how well they're going to look when we put them on the map. Simply because this place isn't supposed to look very lush in terms of trees and stuff. don't know how well a tree would grow on these places, and frankly, you don't even see trees on the show, and they don't really mention anything about it in the books, obviously, because who the fuck cares about trees? What World Painter creates with the deciduous tree brush, as well as what Minecraft creates with its regular generated trees. This is a deal a lot larger. I don't think I want to go that big. I think I'll just go with the smaller version. We're going to write this down. We're going to get the number for it, the little code here, which is EUR13 small. What else we got? We got alder, which I believe is up here. Is this alder? Yes, this is alder. This tree, I actually might not mind putting on here, even though it's just as big as the one we just did. Hello once again YouTube, Chris the Nightbringer here bringing you some World Painter action. I'm not obviously in World Painter, we're actually going to be checking out some trees because this should be the last episode we spend in World Painter, and the last few steps involve making trees and putting them on the map, or getting trees on the map, and putting on the biomes. So if you know anything about Pyke, or frankly anything from Game of Thrones, most of it's filmed in like Ireland and places like those near you know, old English areas. It's a little bit more thin, not so thick with the branches. We'll come back to this actually, but we'll definitely get the smaller version. EUR1S. We have aspen, which might be right here. No, this is ash. Gotta find aspen. Don't know if it'll actually be on here. I know that we want silver birch, and we're gonna want probably both of these because these are pretty good looking trees. So EUR3S and EUR3 large. I'm just writing that down.